We're live now. That was my recorded introduction. And the auto business is very exciting now. I've been doing this since 1968, and we're about ready to see a watershed moment in the way cars are bought or leased, or if they are bought, or if they are leased. And if you have a car dealer, I mean, this whole scene that we're going through here in this digital revolution, artificial intelligence, it is just absolutely mind-boggling. We're at the point now in the auto industry that if you can imagine something, it's probably going to happen. Things that we thought about are now happening, a month or two later. I mean, it's just incredible with quantum computing, how fast things are changing. Seriously, we're talking about, will people be buying cars anymore? I frankly don't think so. I think given the time, 20 years, everything's going to be different. We're either going to be sharing cars, we're not going to be driving them, they're going to be autonomous. But meanwhile, to get down to the today, and here we are, we still have car dealers out there that take advantage of you, practically all of them. Yeah, it's an embarrassing situation. Matter of fact, this behavior, this bad behavior, I got to believe it's worldwide with car dealers, is bringing on their own demise. If they were just treating you nicer, honestly, more transparently, if it was a pleasant experience, look at Apple stores, look at Costco, even Target. There are a lot of retailers out there that you actually like to go to. Publix. I'll say to Nancy, my co-host here, and my wife, I'll say, let's go to Publix. I just like to walk around Publix. Or Costco. I love Costco. I stand there and watch the chickens go around on the rotisserie. And everybody you run into is nice to you. If you buy something and you change your mind, you bring it back for any reason, they give you all your money back. Everybody's smiling. Meanwhile, contrast that with your local car dealer. It's like having a root canal. People don't want to go in to buy a vehicle. And the dealers have it locked up in their franchise system so that the only person that can legally sell you a car is a car dealer. General Motors can't sell you a car directly. Honda can't sell you a car. Toyota can't sell you a car. You've got to go through your Honda or General Motors, Ford, whatever it is, dealer. Franchise system, locked in. So when you're bulletproof and nobody can get rid of you, and actually they can't tell you what to do, the manufacturers are very limited as to how they can control, persuade, or coach car dealers. The dealers are independent business people, and their franchise agreements, due to lobbying by the very, very powerful National Automobile Dealers Association and the State Dealers Association, as well as the dealers themselves. I mean, every dealer you see out there is worth a lot of money. They got a lot of money to give to political action committees, to give to their own associations, to lobby their state legislatures. Consequently, they're bulletproof. They cannot be controlled by anyone, the manufacturer or even the state regulators. So why not take advantage of you? No one's going to spank them. And we're the only people that do spanking right here on Earl on Cars, and we talk about it in the show. We're very, very candid. Mystery shopping report. By the way, Josh Stewart, my youngest son, is taking over for Stu, my oldest son. He's out today, and Josh has been here and substituted before. He'll do a great job for you. He will take over complete control of the mystery shopping report today and talk about it. I mean, actually, Stu wrote it, but he dispatches the mystery shoppers. And we have another mystery shopping report that will demonstrate to you, I don't say they're all bad, but most of them are bad, and demonstrate to you the lack of control. So here we are. We're now here today. What is today, the 22nd or 21st?
It's the 11th.
11th, I don't know.
It's the half of the 22nd.
I just jumped forward. I was talking about the future so much, I just crept forward 11 days.
You're twice as fast as we are.
June the 11th,
You
2022.
can't do that because you'll miss Father's Day.
And we have that. I miss Father's Day.
You want to milk that for all
You're
you
off
can.
the hook, Nancy. No gift this year.
So we have to get by today and tomorrow and the next day, right? You're going to buy a car, lease a car, probably. Most of you are driving cars out there, so we got to get by. But the good news is, your kids and your grandkids aren't going to have to deal with this, because I don't believe the franchise system and the way car dealers operate today can continue indefinitely. In fact, I know it won't. I'm sad for me to say we're a family dealership, and we've been around. The dealership that we have has been around since 1975. I came into business with my father in 1968. This has been a family tradition kind of a thing for almost 100 years. The dealer franchise system, I think it's 77 years. Right after Henry Ford got things cranked up with assembly line production, the dealer system got put in, and it got tougher in terms of ability to get along with and buy a car, and that's where we are today. Hence, Earl on Cars, how to buy a car without being ripped off by your local car dealer. Key part of the show, I got on an incredible rant here, I know that, but I want to get some numbers out, and you'll hear Nancy do this, and we all do this, because you make the show, your calls, your text, you can access us by the web, anonymousfeedback.com. You can text us a lot of ways, but the phone number, the old-fashioned phone number, is 877-960-9960. I encourage you, voice your opinion, whether you agree with us, disagree with us, if you have information for us, compliments, we'll accept compliments. Anything you want to say, we love the sound of your voice. It makes the show more entertaining, and we have a lot of friends out there that we rely on, regular callers, and we like some new callers. 877-960-9960. Again, write it down. You probably don't have a question right now. We're on for 2 hours from 8 to 10 Eastern Standard Time, so you might tune in later, you might tune out now and tune back in. 877-960-9960. And Nancy, who was monitoring the laptop, and when the control room sees your call come through, puts that number up, your name up, you're right there, and Nancy will interrupt Rick or Josh or me or herself or anybody to get your call on the air ASAP. We won't keep you holding if we can possibly help it. We have a text number. A lot of folks are a little camera shy, audio shy, and you like to text, and I'm a text person. The text number is 772-497-6530. You have a question about anything automotive. Rick Kearney, by the way, sitting to my right, certified diagnostic master technician. This guy knows about everything there is to know about the electronics, mechanic of your car. They're complicated today. I mean, they are real complicated. And I just switched cars. My Tesla got a nail in the tire, and I had another problem with it, so I'm driving a combustion engine car now, and I forgot
It's half combustion.
Yeah, half combustion.
You got a hybrid.
I got a hybrid, and I couldn't figure out how to start the car.
Don't remind him.
Yeah, and then when I got out of the car,
traumatic.
I left it running because with a Tesla, well, I don't have to turn the car off. I just got to leave, and it automatically turns off. So cars are complicated. I mean, if you can fool a car dealer, you're going to fool a new buyer. Rick Kearney, he monitors YouTube, by the way, and we are on YouTube. YouTube.com/Earl on Cars. YouTube.com/Earl on Cars. Rick Kearney, certified master diagnostic technician. If you have a problem, ask him. Send him a video, an audio clip, a video clip. Squeak, rattle, or roll. We don't have no smell clips, do we? Soon we will. We'll have a.
I hope not.
Well, they actually they have. There's a company out there. We talked about it last week or the week before. They have a machine now that can detect the source of the odor, the intensity of the odor, unpleasant, not pleasant. It's all physical science. It's all particles. It's all molecules and atoms, and it's anything that the mind can conceive of today, we can do. So now, soon, you'll be able to send us a smell clip. Meanwhile, we'll go by with the audio clip or the video clip, and
Rick's leaving.
Rick is thinking, what if someone has got a really sick sense of humor and sends me a really
or has a dead rat in
nasty
their
smell?
car.
I'd be fine if all it did was send me a text message and says the smell equates to this definition.
Yeah, we'll tell you. You say I'll take
But
your
if
word
it all of a
for it.
sudden has a little thing that pumps out a version of that smell and says, "Here, what do you think this is?"
No, what it does, you don't even have to use your nose. That's the whole point of the smell clip. It would just go through and be analyzed by your PC or your smartphone.
That I could handle.
Send any evidence of describing the problem with your vehicle to Rick Kearney. He'll find the problem. And it'll save you an expensive repair, I promise you. Car dealers are very hungry now, and when you walk into or drive into a service department, they're going to sell you something that probably you don't need. Rick can prevent that from happening. And, okay, so we're youranonymousfeedback.com. Very unique way to talk to us without us knowing who you are, where you are, anything about you. It's like when you report a crime, you don't want the criminal coming back and getting even with you. Okay, youranonymousfeedback.com. If you want to say something to us that we won't like or somebody else won't like, or you just feel the need for privacy. A lot of folks just love privacy. And we have a lot of anonymous feedbacks where the people even tell us who they are. I don't know why they do that, but youranonymous feedback.com. Youranonymousfeedback.com. And Josh is monitoring that. That's about it. We got the 877-960-9960 phone. We got the 772-497-6530 text, anonymous feedback. Call us, you make the show, text us, and we will acknowledge. We'll get to almost everything by the end of the show. And sitting to my left is Nancy Stewart. She's my co-host, back with me many, many years ago when we started this show, half an hour on Thursdays. And we were on for several years, and then we got fired because the dealers boycotted advertising on the radio station. We were off for a year, came back, and we're still here. So Nancy has a very special offer for you lady callers because she is a female advocate for the car buyer, female car buyers, and she encourages people of the female persuasion to call the show. So Nancy, the mic is all yours.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I want to thank all of you. You're very important to the show, and we are thankful for your calls. Every way that you can get in touch with us, you're an important part of the show. As Earl said, I do have $50 for the first two new lady callers this morning. Give us a call. And ladies, did you take the lead? Did you negotiate your deal, whatever it might have been? Used car, new car, leasing? Whether you were having your vehicle serviced, give us a call, or you can just call and say hello. 877-960-9960. And for you others, text 772-497-6530. I have a lot of good news to share with you this morning, and I'll get to all of that later. I'll give you an idea of what I might talk about if we have time. And that's, again, last week I mentioned these weak fines that Automotive News talked about last week that do little to deter the behavior of these dealers. And really, it affects the auto industry in a very negative way because they can still get away with everything. Also, in this week's Automotive News is something fantastic, and that's all about car sharing, like your Airbnb kind of situation.
An auto Airbnb kind of thing. Very cool.
Yeah. And we're hopefully going to talk about that in those two companies that are very involved. That's Turo and Getaround. And that's pretty interesting. I just love it. It's a great concept. We're also going to talk about the article that appeared in Automotive News about children and pets again, and the number of deaths that are happening in those hot cars, and what we can do about it. And the Toyota, Jim Lintz had something to do with this. There was a death, I believe, to a child, a close friend that he knew, and this kind of accelerated the direction of this new idea that Toyota came up with. So stay tuned for that. So the auto industry is changing a whole lot, but there are a lot of positive things that are happening. So getting back to the ladies, don't forget, ladies, $50 for the first 2 new lady callers. Give us a call. Say hello. I'd like to hear from Tracy again this morning. She called a couple of weeks ago to find out what her situation is, her ongoing situation. Don't forget your anonymousfeedback.com. Now back to the recovering car dealer.
Well, how are we doing on text over there, Josh? You got anything floating in yet?
Yeah, we have Anne Marie's inaugural text, as always.
Good
always here.
morning, Anne Marie.
Yeah, thanks to Anne Marie for sending this in. It's actually, she sent an article. It's not about a recall, but it sounds like it might be an upcoming Honda recall. It involves the Honda Pilot SUVs and the start-stop system that a lot of manufacturers have. It's for those of you who don't know, it's that system when you pull up to a stoplight, the engine actually shuts off. Supposedly the AC and everything runs perfectly fine, but then as soon as you take your foot off the brake and put on the accelerator again, the engine kicks back on. The idea being, I imagine, is to save miles per gallon, and and nowadays that's a very good thing. But apparently, some of these Hondas are failing to restart, and it's become quite a problem. There's been hundreds of reports to the NHTSA. So
Traffic jam city.
exactly, and these things seem to create a lot of problems. The start-stop systems, the battery that's required to handle it is, I believe, it's over $500. Is that right, Rick? Something like that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So if one of these goes bad, don't expect to spend $130 and leave Pep Boys.
You're not going to go to the local AutoZone and just pick up one of those. They're quite expensive, and as a matter of fact, unlike any other car out there, any car with start-stop technology, the battery and the starter motor, both are very expensive because they're supposed to be built to a higher tolerance, but they also have a recommended replacement interval, just like an air filter.
So even if it's good,
where
yeah.
you are told by your owner's manual at certain mileage and certain time, you must replace these.
So if you don't
For
do
safety's
that,
sake.
there's a chance they might
A very good chance.
not honor the warranty down the road.
Well, and a very good chance you're going to have this exact same thing happen. They will fail probably while you're sitting in the worst traffic of the world, and suddenly you're stuck, unable to move your car.
And you have to probably go to a dealership to get a replacement.
Right.
Yeah. So
Bottom line is, don't buy a car with a start-stop feature. It was a mistake, and they're probably going to discontinue that idea.
I hope so. It's a horrible system. It was a great idea on paper, but when it hit the real world, nope.
yeah, it does. I mean, obviously the idea of any way we can further save gas is great, but the idea of your car like shutting off and turning back on so many extra times just doesn't seem like like instinctively it doesn't sound like a good idea.
Yeah,
But
reality is it wakes you up. Thanks, Anne Marie. I just love starting the show with your texts.
yeah, it's a really interesting.
Very topic.
Story and very
Interesting
topical because
topic.
this affects people not just with Hondas but with all different makes and models. So
Yeah.
thanks, Anne-Marie.
And Josh, I'm going to interrupt you because we're going to go to the phones where April is waiting. She's a first-time caller to the show, Earl Stewart on Cars. What a beautiful name. Good morning, April.
Good morning. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us. You won yourself $50 this morning.
Yay!
Thank you very much.
You're quite welcome. What can we do for you?
Well, I was calling because I heard your question where you were talking about was I the negotiator in buying my cars. And I had been a single mom for years, and I had a Neon when my two little girls were they were little, and when they started getting bigger, I wanted an SUV. And I went to a dealer down in Lauderdale area, and I just remember how stressful it was trying to buy that car. I went down first with my best friend. She was buying a car, and I noticed that they were trying to give her all kinds of extra fees and different things. So I was, kind of blocking that while I was sitting there. And so they took me out of the room. And so they called me that next week and said, hey, we can give you whatever you want, brand new car. And so I went to go get what I ended up getting was a Suzuki Grand Vitara, and just the stress of being there. I remember my little girls were with me, and I thought it was going to be a quicker process than it was. But I was standing my ground because I knew my budget, I knew how much I can afford, and they kept trying to give me these higher payments. And what it boiled down to was I couldn't afford it. Just give me my keys to my car. I'm good. Let me go. And the hours that they kept me in that dealership, it was daylight when I got there. It was nighttime when I left. And my girls were hungry and we were all cranky. And I was just thinking, I am never going to go through that process ever again. And I think it's just so unfair how they try to take advantage of women when we try to go by car.
Absolutely, April. First of all, I want to thank you for sharing that story with all of us here. And it certainly isn't the first time that we've heard such a ridiculous story. And I want to commend you. You sound like as if that you're a real educated consumer. For you to stand your ground and stand against whomever you came involved with at that dealership. And I have to pause for a moment and ask you, what dealership was it? We name dealerships on our show.
Oh, do you? It was years ago. I think it was in '08. I think it was Coconut Creek.
Okay.
Coconut Creek Suzuki.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thanks for that information. But again, I want to commend you for standing your ground. It sounds like an easy task to stand your ground when you're in a dealership like that, especially when you're alone. But it isn't. It definitely isn't. And my kudos to you. And you are an example to other women that you can prepare yourself and you can just leave. And Earl, he wrote a great column on just that. Whenever you're not getting any cooperation and you're getting a lot of pressure, just leave. Okay, I'll let the guys chime in on this. And again, thank you for calling. Earl?
Yeah, I was just, came to my mind, this is the perception of car dealers, and largely is accurate, and we talk about it a lot, and I always think about the Gallup annual poll on honesty and ethics in professions. I just Googled it to refresh my memory. This been going on every year since 1977. The Gallup organization, number one world respected polling organization. They asked a simple question of they do it in the United States. I'm not sure if it's done in other countries, but the United States, since 1977, almost 50 years, they asked this question: please tell me how would you rate the honesty and ethical standards of people in these different fields? Very high, average, low, or very low. And they take all the basic professions. And the number one, every year I've seen it, every single year, and I believe this, nurses. Nurses are number one. Medical doctors are number two. Grade school teachers. I mean, who doesn't have a warm and fuzzy memory about your grade school teachers? Well, I have one. I don't have a warm and fuzzy.
I don't know. I went to a Catholic school.
She sent me to the cloakroom. Anybody remember what a cloakroom is? That's how long ago I
read
was
about that
in grade school. Anyway, let's go to the bottom of the list. Gallup annual poll on honesty and ethics in professions. This year, 2021, the full year 2021, at the bottom were lobbyists. And the car dealers rarely don't make the bottom, but the lobbyists who are responsible for keeping the car dealers where they are is like a team, But next, car dealers are number two. Every year since 1977, car dealers have either been last or next to last. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
It's shameful.
Unbelievable. So,
But listening to her story, my heart sank. Just that tactic of keeping you in the store, like wearing you down, basically getting the customer to the point where they just want to throw up their hands and just say fine.
Yeah.
It's like it's so exhausting, and the idea of starting over at another place, it doesn't even you can't even consider it.
It doesn't appeal to you.
So you just give in, or give in to most of their ridiculous requests.
And most consumers do just that. What Josh just said, give in. And April, again, I have to thank you for calling and to let you know you've really encouraged a lot of women to call this morning or in the future.
Okay.
You have really helped us build this platform, and I want to thank you.
It's my pleasure. I thank you for what you do.
I hope you're quite welcome. Hope to hear from you again.
Yes, ma'am.
Have a great weekend. 877-960-9960, or you can text us at 772-497-6530. And don't forget that you can subscribe to Earl Stewart on Cars, the podcast, using any of the following podcast apps from your smartphone, from your iPhone, and you can just subscribe to Apple Podcast. You can subscribe to Spotify, Google, Amazon, Stitcher, and SoundCloud. So there's a lot of ways to get in touch with us.
Any more options there?
The list is endless.
Exactly.
So give us a call, and we're going to get back to Josh.
Yeah, I have a couple of a text here, but just want to stay on April's call there too. I think there's a real lesson here. She mentioned that happened a long time ago, 2008, I believe, and it's still fresh in her memory. So just those sort of experiences, they stick with you, and I just wish more car dealerships would be aware of that.
Well,
Yeah.
and the auto manufacturers and other car dealers all are aware of this. And you don't have to be a rocket scientist to understand if someone has a terrible experience when they do something, they don't want to repeat it. And there's no question in my mind if you could hit a switch and make auto dealers treat the buyers with courtesy, respect, and transparency, it would probably increase business by 30-40%. I mean, people will just go, they'll make the car last longer. Finally, they're caught between a rock and a hard place. The cars cost them too much to maintain, and they have to buy a car. That's the only time they go out. As I said earlier, this is a common expression. I'd rather have a root canal than buy a car. And that's how bad the experience is. So, yeah, it's changing. There's a lot of momentum now building up to change the way cars are retailed and bought.
You never forget the feeling of feeling hijacked in a dealership.
Sometimes I think the shortage that we find ourselves in sort of reversed that trend. I thought there was a groundswell with with access to the internet and information, all these resources, that the buyer was getting the upper hand, and then all of a sudden here comes the shortage, and it's a seller's market more than it's ever been.
Actually, the situation with low supply, high demand has lessened somewhat the trickery because
they don't have to.
They don't have to, because now, as you say, it's a seller's market. They put the price on the car thousands of dollars over MSRP, and you can take it or leave it. I mean, one dealer we shopped regularly, who was just fined $10 million by the Federal Trade Commission, the Napleton Group. On their door, they had I forget the exact wording was, but the car that you didn't buy today will be bought tomorrow by the next person.
Yeah, the car that you looked at today, want to think about until tomorrow, someone looked at yesterday and is coming in today to buy, or something like that.
So it's
I've seen that.
So they're in the catbird seat, and counterintuitively, they're just laying it on the ground. I mean, the line. I mean, they're saying you're going to pay thousands over. Ha ha. There's nothing you can do about it, because if you don't buy it, somebody else is going to buy it. When the supply comes back, competition increases, availability increases, then their trick.
Yeah, and then they're back in a situation where volume is the key. Right now, they don't care about volume because they could sell. They're making more on selling 100 cars than they ever made selling 300 cars before.
Exactly.
So that's why you see these. I just saw a new addendum from a dealer in North Miami, $29,000 market adjustment, and then all the fees. I think it totaled like $30,000 over sticker.
Exactly.
You just shake your head.
I guess somebody's paying that.
For sure, yeah. And ladies and gentlemen, to the automotive news that I spoke about earlier, here's just an example of me mentioning this morning about these weak fines. And I really hung on to this. This here is a automotive news from May the 12th. And it's just mind-boggling. Here, for instance, listen up. It took 5 years to plead guilty to felony in a federal courthouse, and this is for fraudulent emissions. And guess what kind of a fine they got? $300 million. Guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Pocket change. Do you know what Volkswagen got? $2 billion. What has happened?
Okay, we got any more
And
text over there?
we're going to go back to the phones where
Okay.
John is holding from Palm City. I kind of get all revved up and
Fired up.
fired up. There's just so much going on. Okay, John, good morning and welcome.
Good morning to everyone. If it seems like you're waiting forever for your newly ordered imported car, one of the big problems are it could be sitting in Brunswick, Georgia, on the docks. There's over 1,000 cars waiting to be delivered. The problem is no truckers to pick them up. So that's a tremendous delay, and there's way over 1,000. They showed the cars on the news just sitting idle, waiting to be delivered, and they don't have the truckers to deliver them. So I just thought I'd mention that too. Also waiting for cars in Michigan and Dearborn plant. There's a load of Ford brand new F-150s sitting idle. They don't have the chips to finish the car up. So there's delays that are considered, these two places alone. And then another delay I'll tell you about, Tesla, which we know is the number one EV vehicle. There's 260 days waiting time to order one. There's 50,000 orders being held. And just alone, last month in China alone, they sold 33,000 brand new Teslas. So when there's something hot on fire, that's the automobile.
Yeah, that's amazing. Elon Musk makes more on every Tesla he sells than any of the other manufacturers. His profit margin from when he sells a car directly, of course, there's no dealers involved. When he sells a car directly, it's about 23%, and I think the average manufacturer other than Tesla maybe makes 10%. So he's not only making more money, but the good news is, I started to say he doesn't mark it up over MSRP. He does have a nominal dealer fee, a couple $100, I think.
Well, in my opinion, the government is picking specifically on him, his automobile. There were 35 crashes, 14 deaths caused by the autopilot on the Model S, X3, and Y. So NHTS is investigating. That's 2014 to 2021 on his cars. I don't believe there's anything wrong with the autopilot. It's just the people behind that's not using the autopilot correctly or setting it wrong, but yet they're making a big production out of that, and I think it's unfair. And also, they're picking on him because of his free speech, and that's another story in itself. But
Yeah.
I believe that they're picking specifically on him, not only because he's successful, but I guess I don't know what it is, because he has a successful car or whatever. But whatever it is, they're not going to shut him down like they did in 1948, they did with the Tucker car or John DeLorean. Whatever they're up to, I don't understand. But he is number one by far, and I think that if they try to pick on him, they're picking on the wrong individual.
I think you're right. I think he will prevail. We mentioned last week on the show that Tesla is the number one luxury car seller in America. That's amazing. I mean, they outsell BMW, Mercedes, Lexus. Number one, Tesla. So they're right there. They're selling every car they can make, and they're making them faster now because some of the situations with plants shut down in China are coming back to, they're able to manufacture cars there now. So it'll be fun watching the Tesla phenomenon.
Yeah.
They're
And
the
John,
Henry
I'll
Ford
tell you,
of the automobile industry.
yeah, whenever you're number one, I'll tell you what, you got to be prepared to take the punches.
Rick has a comment.
You don't really see a markup on Teslas because he sets the MSRP on it anyways.
I was thinking the same thing.
Well, that's the way it should be. I mean,
His markup is in his MSRP.
Apple does the same thing.
Yeah.
You charge what you can sell the car for. The problem with playing games with prices is that you don't know the price. I mean, it's just absolutely insulting to a person's intelligence to not tell them the price. I mean, can you imagine trying to buy a loaf of bread or a television set or anything? They say, listen, are you going to buy it today? No, I'm not sure. Well, when you're ready to buy, come back and see me. I'll give you my best price. Meanwhile, shop around with the other places, come back, and I'll beat the price. That's the way car dealers sell cars. And it's just an insult to people's intelligence, and pretty soon they're going to be in trouble.
If you want the price of a Tesla to come down, other manufacturers are going to have to build an equally quality electric vehicle for cheaper,
Exactly,
and
yeah.
then they'll come down.
Exactly.
Well,
Hey,
that's
John.
actually starting to happen.
Yeah, it will.
John,
It
I
will.
want to thank you for calling and updating us as usual with new and, well, not so great information sometimes. Have a great weekend. John, do you have any other questions or
No,
information
I just
for
want
us?
to mention that specifically about that's the second largest imported pier in the United States. I think the biggest one is in California, and a lot of cars come in through that Brunswick, Georgia, and it's kind of sad that these cars are still sitting there and no truckers to pick them up, and people are waiting anxiously for their automobiles. And then we can get into a further problem. If some of these vehicles, especially that don't have the chips, we get into the end of the year, and they're 2022 cars, and as Earl mentions, when you buy toward the end of the year, you're buying actually a year-old car, even though it's brand new. So
Yeah,
we could run into a further problem when they back up like that.
absolutely.
Well, the bright side there comes to mind is the fact that cars really aren't depreciating all that much. So that the fact that you're buying a model year late in the model year is less impactful now than it has been historically. So just
There you go.
one
I
little
agree
silver
with you.
lining.
People will be glad to get it the way they're shortage.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Be glad to get it. John,
All
thank
right,
you
guys,
so
I'm
much.
waiting for the shopping report.
Fantastic.
Thanks, John.
We're going to go to Julie, who's been holding from West Palm Beach. Good morning, Julie. Welcome back.
Good morning. I had a story about towing. Over 10 years ago, my mother and I were at the mall at Wellington Green, the big mall in Wellington, and we went to leave, and we were heading back to West Palm, and we heard this terrible noise, and my tire was flat. So I called AAA. They came out, and the one man said, I usually handle the southbound lanes on 441. I'll have to charge you another $25 for the northbound lanes. So I told to my mother, can you call AAA and see if they can find someone who can cover the northbound lane? And he said, oh, no, this won't be a problem. So he changes and puts the spare on. I said to him, does that line ever work? And he wouldn't say it. He just laughed. So he leaves. My mother gets on the phone to AAA and said this man had tried to rip us off. And the AAA representative started laughing and said, just when I think I've heard it all. So later that night, we saw on the news that multiple cars at the mall at Wellington Green had their tires slashed. So my tire was fine up to that point. I haven't heard anything, and that's been over 10 years ago, as regarding slashing tires at that mall. But people try and take advantage of you at every turn.
Exactly. Absolutely, Julie. Thanks for sharing that story with us. We're all laughing.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yes, it was pretty crazy. I mean, my mother and I just looked at each other like, does he think we're idiots,
Yeah. What's great is that you stood your ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I assume people, I'm sorry, I was going to say, I assume people must have paid the $25 if he was still trying to use that line. So
Well, I hope he lost his affiliation with AAA.
I hope so.
Yeah.
yeah, what next? All right, thank you. Bye-bye.
You're quite welcome, Julie. Give us a call again, 877-960-9960, or you can text us at 772-497-6530. Now back to Josh.
Yeah, I have a text here. This is from Mark, and this is a little tribute to Rick and your ilk. On Sunday, June 12th, we celebrate National Automotive Service Professionals Day. Congratulations. On behalf of your loyal YouTube viewers, especially Mark Smith and Mark Ryan from Iowa, as well as your growing national and international radio audience, we take this opportunity to thank you for all your contributions, not only to the weekly radio show, but the thousands and thousands of people's lives you've positively impacted throughout your career. Your ability to take fairly complicated and technical items and communicate them in a way that all people can generally understand is truly a gift. For all of this and even more, we sincerely thank you. In recognition of this special occasion, perhaps Earl would treat you to a Publix oven rotisserie chicken, or your wife will grill you a ribeye steak tonight, or you'll grill your own ribeye steak. Enjoy your special day tomorrow, as it clearly has been earned and well-deserved. You are the best.
Yeah.
Hey.
Well, thank you.
Congratulations.
Hooray.
And to all the guys, turning wrenches into shops everywhere, thank you for all you do.
And remember that not only does Rick monitor YouTube, he makes a lot of YouTube videos, and hundreds, maybe thousands.
We've
I
done
think-
a few.
By far, our most viewed videos that we've put up there highlight Rick. I think you have one that's over 1 million, I believe. The squeaky brakes might be up there or close to it. Or how to unlock your steering wheel. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are upwards of 1 million. So you've saved countless people from jams throughout the years.
Yeah, if you Google
Amazing.
a problem just Google a problem. I Google.
Everyone does.
I don't know how many. And it's an automotive problem. There's a good chance you might get Rick, because they'll give you the YouTube clip, and he has a whole bunch of them there. I guess, what's your thought process? You say, what do I have to, customers, or when I do repairs, or what's the most common problem? And then you say, okay, and this is how I fix it, and then you do a video on it.
That's pretty much it. It
Yeah.
just we look for what are the biggest customer concerns? What are people encountering in the world
Yeah.
that they need to know, and what can we do and show them information that they might not think of in the heat of the moment,
Yeah.
that might help them solve that situation on their own,
so
or
when you
save
go to
them
Google,
a hassle.
when you go to Google, in your own words, repeat your problem.
Yeah, how do I do this?
Yeah,
And-
I'm hearing a bing, bing, bing in the right rear of my Ford F-150, or whatever the phenomenon is. Try to describe it just the way you would in your normal language. Sometimes with Google, you try to get too fancy, but Google has this incredible ability, artificial intelligence or whatever it is. Just say it the way you would say it, and you might end up with Rick telling you how to fix it.
The
Yeah.
translations in Google, what it can do,
Yeah.
is amazing. They've
It's a
got an
lifesaver.
incredible.
Well,
setup for
what's
that.
cool is when you start typing your question, you're like 2 words into it, and it autofills the rest of
Yeah.
your question. How do I,
Yeah.
open a stuck pickle jar and it
Yeah.
knows it?
Scary.
And slow down, because it'll do that. It's smarter than you are.
Exactly.
I mean, you're trying to
Look
think
at-
what to
look at
write
what
down,
those choices
and you
are.
get 3 words in there, it tells you what you're going to say.
Exactly, exactly. Okay, folks, we're having a good time here, and we're learning a lot from you, and we're giving you a lot of information, and please keep the calls coming. We are going to go to Henry, who's calling us from Jupiter, and Rick, hang on, and we'll get right with you. Good morning, Henry.
Good morning.
Welcome.
I got two questions. One is a consumer report on my Lexus. A little disappointed there. I know you do the Toyota, and Lexus is a cut above. I bought a 2015 Lexus back in the day, brand new. And, for the amount of time I've owned the car, and I usually keep them 7 years or so, there's a lot of points within the car that just don't hold up. Buying the Lexus and a Toyota product, I figured that, it would really stand this test of time. The leather in the seats has faded out, and surprisingly, the headlights went bad really quickly with the fogging and the clouding over on the website.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wonder if anybody is experiencing that with the Toyota product. It's probably made in the same factory. But all in all, also the navigation system I found to be very complicated. So
Yeah.
I just wanted to point that out. I don't know if other people have mentioned that to you, or if I'm, by myself on this.
Well, you're right, Henry. If it was Lexus, probably Toyota has it, and Rick is the guy who can answer, because he sees all the problems.
Those are 3 of the most common issues that we see across the board, Lexus and Toyota. We get a lot of Lexus in our shop, and the older cars, the leather fades, the leather starts cracking, and it's just the leather they use when they're doing natural leather. Myself, I would always go for a synthetic leather or man-made product for the seats. You'll find it holds up better, because the product that they're using to make those leather seat covers is not a good high quality leather. And for some reason, they just cheaped out on it, and I don't know why, but they did. The headlights, that is across the board on, I would say, almost every car manufacturer out there that are using the polycarbonate type headlights. They fog up, and I've even done several experiments on my own vehicle, trying different products, trying different things. And the only thing I have found that actually will help to extend the lifespan of that is they make a clear film. It's kind of like the vinyl wraps they put on cars, but they do a clear version that you can have installed on your headlights.
But you can clean it and get the.
Oh yeah, you can clean it and refinish your headlights, and they'll be good for about another year. And you can do it again. You can do this multiple times, and you'll get another good year or more if you have it refinished properly by somebody that takes their time and really does it right, or put on that clear film from 3M, and both of those will extend that lifespan of the headlights. And for the navigation, Toyota and Lexus used the same navigation systems, and my opinion, they were garbage right from the start. They've been garbage all the way through.
Well, you use your smartphone. All the navigation, Garmin, all the navigation systems are better than virtually every manufacturer of auto.
And the smartest thing they've ever done.
My Chevy truck, and my headlights on my Chevy, and my navigation in the truck, I could talk to it like I speak to you. Just say address, and I just tell it what I want.
Yep.
Whereas I think I got to speak Japanese to get the Lexus one to work.
You probably, I didn't know about Chevrolet, but that wouldn't surprise me. I mean, when you figure Garmin, how long's Garmin been around?
Chevy went to CarPlay a lot sooner than Toyota.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So, and once they started using CarPlay with the runs through your phone,
oh yeah,
it blew the market away. That's just the way to go because it's always updated. You've got instant traffic reports. Everything is right there with what you need.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
It's the way to go.
One more question for Earl. I got a little dilemma. Actually, a family member has a dilemma. Bought a 1-year-old Infiniti up in Stewart at the Infiniti dealer, and the Carfax and all points said there was no accident to the car. When she had been up there for service a couple times, she kept noticing a little of the plastic bumper area kept popping, and she'd mention it. We'd push it back, and it would hold, and then it would pop. Mm-hmm. Well, just yesterday, she took it to the Infiniti down here in West Palm because the warranty is expiring, and she wanted a full check. And they pulled up their information and said this car was in an accident. It was in here for 3 months.
Mm.
Now, my daughter was surprised. She says, wait a minute, I bought a car that, with a clean repair. What they did was they held the ticket open down here in West Palm, and because the ticket was never closed until after she purchased the car, the car has a history which is going to depreciate the value, and now she's very upset about driving a car that 3 months in the shop, I guess it had some pretty good damage.
Henry, was it bought new or used?
It was a year old.
Year-old, yeah. She'd have recourse if it were new. On used, the rule is if she said to the seller, has this car been in any accidents, and he said no, then she would have recourse. Do you know how that dialogue went?
Yeah, no, that's exactly. She was specific about having a clean vehicle.
Yeah.
And I do believe it's a dealer certified vehicle.
Yeah, that would be. She'd have recourse. If, as a matter of fact, the owner of the Infiniti in Stewart, Florida, if it's the same owner that I knew, is a pretty reputable guy. And if she went back and presented her case, I think she could get some consideration from them because they did misrepresent that. Now, you say that was not on the Carfax report. I mean, that'll be their defense, but if you check over a car carefully, whether it's on the Carfax report or not, and use something called a paint meter we use, and most dealers do, you can always tell if a car's been in any kind of a significant accident, not a little scratch maybe, but they should have caught that. They should have disclosed it. And I believe if she goes back to Infiniti of Stewart, they will compensate her.
Is there two different dealers from West Palm to?
Yeah.
Yeah, Schumacher is the dealer in West Palm, and I think it's Gus Machado or something.
Yeah, Mergado.
Mergado, yeah.
Yeah, I just looked that up. It's the Mergado Auto Group.
Mergado is a stand-up guy.
The car went for sale at another dealer. I mean, if you had a car that you could make a few dollars on, you'd keep it within your own dealership. So they sent it along for I'm thinking for a reason.
Tell her to go back there. She has a problem. You can text me. I'll give her Mercado's cell phone number. I know him personally.
Did you say that the car was in the West Palm shop for 3 months being repaired?
Yeah,
That's
3 months
That's a
is
pretty
what she
extensive
found out.
repair. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's not small
Right.
potatoes.
And yeah, and the fact that they didn't close out, because they said the ticket was closed out, and they gave her the date. She says, "Well, I already owned the car by the time you closed the ticket."
Yeah.
Terrible.
Well, that explains why it didn't hit the Carfax.
Yeah, I think they'll take care of that for her.
Okay, thanks, Earl.
Well, call us back and let us know how it went.
Yeah, give us an update, Henry, and thanks so much for sharing your story. And get that number from Earl, that cell phone number. That'll be a big help.
If she
Okay,
needs
could I
it,
go on hold and maybe collect that from your staff?
Well, I tell you what. Just do you have my cell number? Call me after the show or text me, and I'll text it to you.
Okay.
My cell number is 561-358-1474.
358-1474.
Yeah, right.
1,000 people just
thanks.
wrote that down.
Thank you, Henry.
5 million people already have
I
it.
know.
We're going to stay on the phones, and we're going to get to Rick's call from Palm Beach Gardens. And Charlie, hang on. We'll get right with you. Good morning, Rick.
Good morning.
Welcome. What can we do for you?
Well, I have a 2021 Sienna minivan. Just had recently a problem with the center console door locking, getting stuck. As a result, I lost my handicap placard. You know, the hanging placard was in there, and it's gotten lost. And so I'm just wondering if it's something that should be covered by warranty.
You mean the cost of the replacement?
How did the
Well,
how did the
because
placard
you
get
get-
lost? What happened to it?
Well, it was sitting inside the console, and and then that door got, the door cover it.
Mm-hmm.
It only opened like a fraction, and so then when we were able to get some things out to open the door, it's missing.
So it fell down
I
inside.
read somewhere. Yeah, I've read somewhere. I've seen some chats there because we were trying to figure out how to get in, and then we came across the Sienna chat where it's been an issue with other people.
So the car ate your placard, basically.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I don't see how that would be able to be covered under warranty. That something a foreign object basically got lost down inside. Because what would have to happen is the technician, there's no actual defect in the parts or workmanship. It's just, there's always going to be gaps around doors. And so for a technician to disassemble it to find it, that they'd have to cover the technician's time to disassemble that console to find out where it went and get it out for you and then put it back together.
Can you estimate how long that operation would take?
There's no telling, because it could, if it simply slipped down in, it might be just a 1 hour deal to pull one cover or two covers off. But if it fell way down into the bottom, that could be several hours to tear it apart.
I've heard of stories of like some personal items being lost, like under a seat. They get underneath the carpet,
Right.
and then you have to like remove a whole seat to get to it. Sometimes
Just to get under that carpet,
Yeah.
you may have to remove a seat or a bunch of trim.
it's a really unfortunate situation. I'm really sorry to hear this.
Yeah, it is definitely, and it may be worth your while to go over. And I know it's an inconvenience and very annoying to go to the courthouse and get that placard replaced.
Yeah,
But
that's the
that may
biggest
be
thing.
your only alternative. I've done it.
Can you do that online nowadays, maybe, or do you have to go in person?
It's been a while since I've done
Yeah.
that.
My wife just recently got two of them because we have two vehicles. So
Yeah, that's what I got was two
it's a pain, and
of them, and they had an express line when I went the last time. So you might want to look into that.
Right now at the courthouse, I know for a fact, anything to do with automotive, you're going to need to make an appointment and make sure you are punctual for that appointment because it says right on their site, if you are more than 15 minutes late, your appointment no longer exists.
Yeah, you might want to look into what Josh just suggested, and that's, excuse me, going online. Right, Josh?
Yeah, a lot of those services can be done, over the phone or mail or on the computer
Exactly.
nowadays.
Rick, good luck to you.
Yeah, we wish you luck, sir.
And give us a call. Let us know how it turned out.
Okay, sure.
I'm sorry.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. The disgust.
Yeah.
What can you do? Okay, we're going to go to Charlie, who's been holding in West Palm Beach. Good morning, Charlie.
Good morning, guys. First thing I want to say is thank you for having your show. I don't know if you realize there's hundreds and hundreds of people that listen. They just don't call in, but they pick up information from you guys, and it's a great public service.
Well, thank you.
Anyway, but it's for the whole crew.
Oh, thank you.
We
I know.
thank you.
Earl is probably, anyway. Here's my question. I have a 2015 Honda Odyssey that I bought brand new. And over the years, the window, and Honda calls it window molding, but it's the rubber piece that goes kind of at the bottom of the window. So when the electric window goes down, I guess it keeps water from going in and out. And I replaced them on a Corvette many years ago. But my question is it worth replacing? Because I went to one body shop, and the gentleman said he could spray some type of silicone or something on the dry rot. And then he said it's not that important to replace it because water's going to get down there one way or another. So my question is it worth me doing replacing the molding, which is going to cost like $150 a window, or should I just let it be and move on with my life?
Now, is this the molding that's at the top edge of the door, where the door and the window meet on that edge on the outside?
No, it's down at the bottom of where the window goes down.
But on the metal of the door, it's the top edge of the metal of the door, and then where the door at the bottom of the window, but at the top of the door, the main body of the door.
Correct.
Yeah, that's called the belt molding. In case you want the technician's term for it, we call that one a belt molding, and they do get very dry rotted over time. Florida sun's really hard on that rubber. And yes, its main purpose is to prevent things like leaves, debris, and a lot of dirt from getting down inside the door. Because what'll happen is, and water, of course, goes right past those, but any of the dirt and debris that gets down in there can sometimes plug up the drain holes at the bottom of the door, and then the water can't get back out of the door. So it's up to you. I would not worry about it too much. If they're still relatively in good condition, I wouldn't worry about it. But if you do happen to notice that when you open and close your door, if you hear any sort of sloshing, maybe like there might be a little bit of water in there, take a metal coat hanger, open the door, and look along the bottom edge, and you'll see 3 or 4 little drain holes there. They're just little gap holes. Just straighten out the coat hanger, push it in and wiggle it around to clear out the dirt and debris, and make sure the water drains out, and you'll be fine for years to come yet.
You got to lie down on your back to do that, right?
No, you just kind of a little stool, sit down, just bend over and feel for those holes and just wiggle it up in there.
Or you can put on your lift. Most people have a lift at your house, right?
Oh yeah, I've got mine at my house. Or even a pipe cleaner works too.
Doesn't
Those
everyone?
work well to clean them up.
That's a great
So
tip.
basically, you're saying that for me, it's just I'm looking at it going, nah, this don't look good, but it's still functional, and because I think they want I'm going to say $200 a piece, because when they do the front one, they have to take the mirror off.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Went to
At least.
YouTube and saw it. It's like
Up on the spray.
a big job.
Yep. As for sprays, I wouldn't put any sort of spray on it, because that spray then is going to get on your window, and it's going to haze up your window and can make it very hard to see. And when that spray gets down inside the door on some of the other pieces, it's just every time you put the window up and down, you're going to get those streaks on the window, and it looks horrible, and it can be very dangerous if suddenly you don't have a good clean view through that window.
Well, you guys probably saved me about $500, so I'll just live with it the way it is and keep the rest of the car clean. Thanks so much for
That's
answering.
what we
Excellent.
There's a 10% charge, so please
Yeah,
address
and my
it.
address that you can send
That's
that
what we
to
like
is
to hear. Thank you so much. Give us a
With
call
interest.
again. Have a great
luck,
weekend,
guys.
Charlie.
Bye-bye.
We're going to go to Bobby, who's been holding in West Palm Beach. Good morning, Bobby.
First of all, I want to tell the boss that Rick answers his emails. So if you write into him with questions and you send sounds from your cars or whatever and you have a problem, he answers them. So I'm just making sure the boss knows
Fabulous.
his job.
Well, he answers my emails, but I'm glad that he answers your emails too.
The second thing, you've been talking about Teslas and that sort of thing. A friend of mine has bought a couple of them, and the last one he bought, they had a $400 vehicle registration added on, which, as you guys have discussed, is sort of a little high. And in his particular case, he's a disabled veteran and is entitled to free registration or something like free
Yeah,
registration.
it's like
And
$20,
know
I think.
Yeah.
Right, something along that line. And he brought that up to him, and the guy just said, "Do you want the car or not?"
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
To a
boy.
disabled veteran, he said that.
So right. So I don't think they're any better or any worse, but they're probably about the same. He also said that they deliver the car and they actually deliver it to your house when it comes in after 6 months after ordering. But there were a couple parts missing. Things like the little screen that pulls over the hatchback so you can't see through the back window of what's under the hatch or something. So, not big things, but some things like that. You can't call anybody. You have to email. Nobody will answer the phone, and the part is not available. So you have to go and email and then wait for the part to come.
Yeah. That's
You're just stuck.
I did. You see, that was a Tesla, so that was yeah. I bought a Tesla, as you probably know, and the sales experience was not delightful. The online was a little troublesome. And matter of fact, I just had a little problem with my Tesla. I got a nail in my tire, and I had an issue with another issue. But they're only open for service half a day on Saturday, which shocked me, and they're not open at all on Sunday. And if you call them, they're not very responsive. I've never thought that Elon Musk and Tesla was the perfect situation, but they build a great car. It's a lot of fun to drive, but they have problems. I mean, I'll give you an example. A nail in my tire, I had to replace the tire. Guess how much my tire cost to replace?
Well,
$478.
One tire.
One tire.
You want to know why?
Well, it's a special made tire. Yeah.
Because it has a special foam insert in the tire
Yeah.
and a sensor built into the tire.
Yeah.
And it requires specially trained technicians to even put that tire on and off.
Yeah, you sound like Elon Musk.
I'm sorry, but I know my limitations. That's why I wouldn't touch that one.
A man's got to know his limitations.
that's not a run flat tire, is it?
Yeah, it is.
It is.
It is a run flat. Yeah. Yeah, no,
Dirty Harry.
No, I sometimes I think people come across, Tesla advocates seem to raise Elon Musk in the car to the heavens, and it's perfect. It's far from perfect. I mean, my Tesla does not have the quality of the Camry I'm driving right now, while my Tesla's in the shop. There are a lot of things that it lacks, but the one thing it does have, amazing technology. It's a fun car to drive, and I just love to pass gas stations.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of fun. And Bobby, I'm really glad I wasn't driving the Tesla the day that it just quit, that it just shut down.
But let me go back to
Right,
Bobby's.
that saved you a lot of trouble.
You know what I do, Bobby, on this? The thing that really guiles me about this is that the veteran should have gotten that registration for, did you say $20?
It's a nominal fee. Yeah.
Nominal fee.
Yeah.
And some stupid Tesla salesman gave him that answer. I would call. Are you local Palm Beach County?
Yeah.
I'd call Channel 5, Channel 12, Channel 25. I'd call for the Advocate, the Consumer Reporter. This is a great story. Tesla story. There are a lot of people out there with Tesla. You either love them or you hate them, and the media loves this. So they would love to get hold of this story where a veteran was told that he had to pay, which is $400 for registration when he should have only paid 20, and they told him if I didn't want the car, then to leave. That would make a great story. I'll bet you that as soon as that was being discussed by WPTV Channel 5, the Tesla would probably take care of it immediately.
Yeah, I think you're right. If I could say one more idea for people, and I'm sure a lot of people have thought of this, because cars are hard to come by or a little expensive,
Yeah.
You might think about if you're going on a vacation or taking a ride somewhere to, I don't know, whatever, just rent a car for a week or so. They're still not too expensive. You can get a Camry or something for $40 or $50 a day, which is not cheap, but it's not a lot of money, and they get good gas mileage.
Mm-hmm.
And if your car's getting older and you don't want to take it out on the road, you get a new car, and it's sort of fun. You get a new car for a week or something like that, and sort of adds to the vacation, although it adds to the price a little bit.
Yeah, it's with gas at $5 a gallon, is a lot of people rethinking those long drives on vacation. So, but you're right. Yeah.
And Costco is a good place for that too. Costco has a car rental section on their website, Costco Travel.
Oh, I didn't know that.
They seem to get pretty good prices.
I can vouch for that. I saved hundreds one year when I took a vacation. Used Costco as compared to
really?
just going through Avis or Hertz. Yeah.
Wow.
Same. They just have a great discount deal. Just
When did they
hero.
start renting cars?
it's been at least 4 or 5 years because that trip was 4
Wow.
years ago.
Cheapest chickens and cheapest gas.
The price leading chickens.
Well, thanks for the show, and thank Rick for answering my email.
Thanks, Bobby.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Bobby.
Sure.
We are going to go to James, who's calling us from Phoenix, Arizona. Welcome. Good morning, James.
Hi. Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
I have a question about the current generation RAV4. I was seeing a lot of people on the Facebook group talking about leaks from, I guess, like some washers or some seals maybe around the roof rack, causing the headliners to get destroyed, and Toyota doesn't seem to know anything about it, and they're saying it's not a manufacturing defect, even on like a 1-year-old vehicle.
I personally haven't heard of a RAV4 issue with leaks through the roof rack. But maybe Rick has a better insight.
I haven't seen any TSBs about that yet.
That's a technical service bulletin to those who.
Right. What happens is when a dealer
How about RFQs? Any RFQs?
Did you do a DPR?
I'm not going there.
What
happens is when a technician sees a car with a problem like that, a water leak or something, they'll file a dealer product report, and as soon as that product report goes in,
A DPR.
that's called a DPR. The factory gets notification of it, and they will start looking. And if they get several of these coming in, they'll immediately start looking at the process on building the car to see if there's something they need to change. And technical service bulletins can come out within a couple of days just from one DPR being filed. So they may have something coming very soon about that. Sometimes it does take a little longer before that gets out, but so far we have been advised of it, and I have not seen any major numbers of roof rack leaks in the shop yet. But we have seen other cars that come in. There was one other model, Tacoma pickups, as a matter of fact, the third brake light up in the roof. They had a lot of those were leaking water in. And once they see an issue with it, they will get this information out to us very quickly.
There is a little chatter on the internet. If you Google it, says it's split between the sunroof and the roof rack. So whether or not it's isolated or a really common problem, is it might present itself. But thank you for bringing this to our attention.
Yeah, and in the meantime, it's covered under warranty anyways, so your car should be completely repaired. And if there's any signs of dampness or odor, go back to the dealer and let them know, because that needs to be taken care of. That needs to be completely dried out and cleaned to make sure there's no signs of any mold or mildew getting in the car, and the Toyota will reimburse the dealer and cover all of that.
And James, I just Googled it, and you go to Google, put in RAV4 roof rack leak, and the first thing that popped up, there's a YouTube, obviously not by Rick, called RAV4 Roof Leak Explained 2019, 2020, 2021 Toyota RAV4. So that'll help you, and we haven't seen them, but apparently they do exist.
If you, we had enough rain this last week, I'm sure one would have presented itself if there was a leak in your vehicle.
Yeah, I've seen like hundreds of these cases on the Facebook RAV4 Owners Club.
Interesting.
So I don't know why Toyota seems to not know anything about it. Or,
They probably know. It just has to reach a certain threshold, I believe, before it becomes, like most corporations, until it reaches a tipping point, action is really not taken.
Yeah. So,
well, thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
James, you called something to our attention, a Toyota dealer. They didn't know about a RAV4 roof leak, and we got them, because I Googled it, and we got them. But fortunately, our customers have not complained to Rick yet. Anyway.
Yeah, we haven't seen that many in the shop.
Yeah. Thanks very much, James.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, James.
Okay, thank you.
Let us know how that all turns out. Our telephone number here is 877-960-9960, and you can text us at 772-497-6530. Take advantage of your anonymous feedback. We're going to go back to Josh.
Yeah, I have a couple of texts here. This is from Steve in New Jersey. He says, Good morning, Earl. I often tell people when looking to buy a car that it's equally important to research dealerships in addition to conducting car research. Cars will break. Partnering with a reputable dealership will help mitigate the hassle of car ownership. And if you can find a good place, I think he's absolutely right.
Yeah.
And that might be one of the, with all the advantages of buying directly from the manufacturer that Tesla's presenting, the fact that, in the best case scenario, having a good relationship with the dealership can be a very beneficial relationship.
Yeah, a good relationship with the dealership, a good relationship with a technician like Rick, a good relationship with a service advisor, or a car salesman. I mean, it's all about human beings. We have done mystery shopping reports where one of our worst rated dealers would actually have a salesperson that was a stand-up guy. In fact, we even had one a couple weeks ago that says, hey, listen, go to Earl Stewart Toyota because they won't mark cars up over MSRP.
That was Malik.
Yeah.
From last week.
So we actually it's people. You're dealing with people. The car dealer can be good, bad, or in the middle. Find a good technician, find a good service advisor, find an honest salesperson.
There's great people at all these dealerships.
Yeah,
there really is.
You got to be quick because sometimes they don't last long. Because, there's some people. Literally, if you got an honest salesperson in a really terrible dealership, he's not going to make any money.
Oh no, for real. We've had in the past people who've come to work for us. From another manufacturer, and then all of their loyal people came to buy cars from them, even though it was a different brand. They followed the person, not the car.
We hired Delray Toyota's #1 salesman. Do you remember his name?
Oh, you're talking about Pedro?
Pedro, yeah. No. We hired.
That was Brayman Honda.
Okay, we hired Delray Toyota's #1 salesman, and after about 6 months, he came into my office and he said, I apologize, Mr. Stewart, I'm going to have to leave. And I said, why?
Oh, okay.
And he says, well, we don't have any floor traffic here. Now, that means people coming in the door, people responding to advertisements. And Delray Toyota would run these ads, bait and switch, below cost. They couldn't sell the car for that. And then the salesperson would talk to them. And if the salesperson could trick them into buying another car, they would sell the car. So a good salesperson there was able, because he could talk to 25 people a day, but maybe only sell 3 cars a day, but 3 cars a day is a lot of cars. So at our dealership, because we advertise the real price, and what we really do, we'd only have maybe 20 people a day, but everyone would buy a car, but he wouldn't get to talk to one maybe that day. So good salespeople don't last at bad dealerships, and bad salespeople don't last at good dealerships.
That's very true.
Yeah.
It's all about people.
Great information. We're going to go back to the phones, and we're going to go out to Boynton Beach, and we're going to talk to Moshe. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Hello.
Good morning.
Hello.
How can we help
Good
you this
morning.
morning?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Loud and clear.
Wonderful. My name is Moshe Katzberg, and I called into the station in the past. That was back in May of last year. Oh, about a year ago.
Yeah.
Amazing.
We recall you.
Oh, well, I
Welcome
can't
again.
believe. Well, thank you very much. If I may rekindle shortly what my issue was and why, and then it will come to why I'm calling today, and you may be very gratified to find out that I took your advice. But let me get down to the nitty-gritty. If you recall, last year I called because I had leased a car from a Schumacher dealership, a Jeep, 2018 Jeep. In 2018, was a 3-year lease, which was due to expire on October of 2021. The reason I called back in May was as I was approaching the end of my lease, I decided that I want to purchase the car and the end of the lease. And that's where all hell broke loose. Because when I called Ally Bank directly, they informed me that I could not buy the car directly from them per Florida state law, which till today I have never been able to verify, even though I contacted the Attorney General's office in Tallahassee.
That's not true.
No one could please, yeah, is that true, by the way?
No, you can buy it, at least through Southeast Toyota Finance in the state of Florida. If you have a leased vehicle, you can buy it directly from them. I confirmed that recently.
If
you're leasing with Toyota, so it might be a Toyota, a Honda. I'm sorry, it was a Jeep, like a Chrysler or an Ally financial rule,
Yes.
I suppose, but it's definitely not a state of Florida rule.
So, first of all, please tell me, let me digest the information. In the future, may I buy it from this agency you just mentioned?
Well, the scenario I was referring to is had you leased a vehicle from Southeast Toyota Finance, so that would be it would have to be a Toyota vehicle in this state. Then you would have the right at the end of your lease or at any time in your lease to buy it directly from the bank without it going through a dealership. They'll send you the application for title. You could register it yourself at the DMV. You do not have to involve the dealership.
And Moshe, there's also some breaking news on this subject, and that is that there are a couple of South Florida attorneys that are suing a whole lot of car dealers in Florida and maybe out of Florida for violating the Consumer Leasing Act, 1976 Consumer Leasing Act, and the Consumer Leasing Act specifically says that your option to purchase is the price that you should have to pay for the car. They cannot charge anything more. And I've advised a couple of other callers to me on this subject to refer, and I've given them the names and contact information of these two attorneys. And when you mention this to a dealer, because all the car dealers now know about this big suit, that they will cave in and allow you to buy it for the purchase option price.
Well, that's great news. Let me tell you what has transpired since, because I'm a little bit downstream, trying to cut the chase here and not trying to hog your airtime. So, you suggested at the time when I was lamenting to you my woes, and the runaround that I got from Ally, which was incredible because I could never get a direct answer from them except that go back to the dealer, go back to you. We cannot sell it to you because we don't have a dealer's license in Florida. That is Florida state law. You got to go to a dealer. Slam dunk. I even mailed them full payment, including Florida sales tax. They mailed the check back to me. So I ended up. In fact, I did call you, Earl, if you recall, contacted you, and you turned me over to Stu, and Stu emailed me that my most favorable option will be to go back to my original dealership. If Stu is there, he can verify that. Anyway, that's downstream. What I ended up doing is I ended up finding a small-time dealer who was willing to process the purchase for me for $500, and I ended up purchasing the vehicle last October. After all the runaround. Now, but at the time that I called you last year in May, and I was still full of fume and smoke coming out of my ears, you were very sympathetic to my cause, and you suggested that you knew about this problem, and you said that we guys should get together, or you guys should get together and get a class action going. Well, that's exactly where I am right now.
Oh, good.
I am suing Ally. I'm suing Ally. I have an attorney.
Ooh.
I have an attorney, and in fact, this attorney is hooked up to another attorney, Earl. What's his name? Earl Adam Schreiber. Maybe I get the last name wrong. Mr. Schreiber down in Miami had the same issue with Chrysler, and he had to pay the dealer above the stated buyout price, and he to the dealer somewhere in Miami. He did, and then he sued, and he won. He won a judgment of $19.7 million from Ally.
How could I not have known about that? Wow! Congratulations.
I think I emailed you at the time. If not, I'll be happy to email you the transcript or the link to so you can go to the court document.
Please send the email again. I'm sorry I missed it. I know I missed it.
No, you're a busy guy. Absolutely. You're selling Toyotas and doing radio shows, and God, you must have a dancing act by now. So anyway, I will be more than happy to spring everything to you. So let me get down to why am I calling now. At the time, you suggested I gather a pack of wolves around me and go and go from Ally's jugular veins. That's where I am right now. I have an attorney, as I said, who was linked to Mr. Schreiber, who in the past won this judgment of 19.7, identical case, and he is handling this case up. Where I am right now is my attorney, who's suing Ally, has been contacted by Ally's attorney. So Ally's attorney is puffing up a smokescreen in his face. Basically what their attorney is saying is that no, we have mended our evil ways, and we have contacted our dealers, including Schumacher, to tell them to be nice guys from now on and not to pull these sticks anymore. And I and my attorney say, bullshit. We don't believe it. So right now they are facing each other, and the smoke screen coming out of their attorney just as trying to present a first line of defense, which I think is full of phooey. So the point at which I am, my attorney says to me, look, if we can refute his story, there's only one way. It's for you to find out if there are any other disgruntled clients recently of Ally who have leased or are leasing from Ally and trying to purchase end-of-lease vehicles and getting the same story by being forced to go to a dealer or any dealer, not only the original dealer, but any dealer, and have him and pay a dealer extra
Well,
process.
you came to the right place. We're on the team, and we're gonna.
Well, then I need your help.
Sure.
Or you tell me how you can help me gather disgruntled guys like myself, so we can generate a class action. And we are ready as of yesterday.
Well, we'll do it. We can do it right. We can do it right now. Your Allied, I believe, does financing for General Motors and most of the General Motors dealers. So you got Chevrolet, Cadillac, Allied, I'm pretty sure. And I think they do financing for other manufacturers too.
I mean, if they're with Jeep, then they'll do the Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge.
Yeah. Okay, they do a lot of them. So we will mystery shop, and we'll go through our past mystery shopping reports, and we will report all dealers that created. That committed this. I would say 99% of them are doing it this way, but we can nail them. Just our next mystery shop, we'll find an Allied dealer that has leasing, and we'll check with the purchase option.
Well, Earl, please stop in your tracks. With all due respect.
Yeah.
I need names. In order to generate a class action, I need names of clients.
Yeah.
Lessees like myself, not dealers.
Okay.
I need actual names of people who leased cars and have tried.
I have a suggestion. There's so many, like with social media, car forums, especially since you mentioned Jeep, and Jeep especially since they hold their value so well. I'm sure there's thousands.
And we're doing that right now because Moshe, you're fulfilling your request yourself. You're on radio.
Yes.
We have 20,000 plus 30,000, 40,000. I don't know how many people. We will make this a regular on the radio show. So basically, if you finance your car through Allied and you're listening to this show at this time, we ask you to contact the show. You know how to contact us by text, YouTube, Facebook, 877-960-9960. All you listeners out there to Earl on Cars, if you have leased a car through Allied Finance and your dealer charged you more than your purchase option price if you tried to buy the lease, please call the show, contact the show, and we will get the information to Moshe's attorney, Mr. Shriver in Miami, and we will gather as many names for you as we possibly can.
Right. Thank you. There's only one correction.
Okay.
The attorney is not Schreiber. Schreiber is the attorney who took them to court and won the case a couple of years back. I think in 2019. His buddy is another attorney, and that's the attorney who's handling this case.
Okay.
His name is Kevin Love, like when you're in love with a woman, right?
Okay.
Kevin Love.
Do you have a number?
That is his name. And but I would love to if you guys could contact me, and because all Kevin asked me is to gather a list of agreeable names to add to the class action. So
Okay.
I don't if Earl, if in your kindness you can act as an intermediary, or if I'm allowed to divulge my email number, but if that's not legal in any way,
Oh,
or
it's
doesn't agree with you,
legal. Sure, it's legal. Go ahead and give it to us, Moshe.
Okay, so if you want to contact me directly, my name is Moshe Katzberg, and my email is moshekatzberg@hotmail.com. Please let me spell it for you.
Yes.
M like Mary, O, S like Sam, H-E, Katzberg, Katzburg, Moshe Katzberg @hotmail.com. Please write to me and contact me, and I'll just add you to the list of a class action against Ally. And
Okay,
that's all I ask.
Moshe, give me the second name. Spell it again for me. Your last name.
Yeah, last name is spelled K like King, A like Apple, T like Thomas, Z like Zebra, B like Boy, U like Under, R like Robert, G like George. Katzberg.
Okay.
And my email is my full name, no spaces, and Moshe Katzberg @hotmail.com.
We got it, and we will continue to look for that information. We will give that information out with your email address, and or you can contact the show. A lot of folks that don't have the email to contact the show, and we will email it to Moshe. So if you have an Allied financing lease that you wanted to buy from your dealer, and that dealer tried to charge you more than the purchase option price stated in your lease, there is a class action suit in process by attorney Kevin Love in Miami, and this was started by Moshe, and you can join this class action suit and participate in getting some of the money you were swindled out of back.
Exactly.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Earl and guys and your team.
Yes, Moshe, we're on this with you. You can count on us.
Wonderful.
Thank
I knew
you.
I could.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
You're quite welcome.
Bye-bye.
We're going to go to Marty that's been holding from West Palm Beach. Good morning, Marty.
Okay, I can't match this last caller. So I'll just give
For
you
sure.
my take. I do all my service at Earl Stewart Toyota, but Southern 441 sent me a coupon for a free alignment check. And I don't know if Earl has this or if it must cost a lot of money to have this kind of a system. They've got it in 3 service bays where you drive in, the machine looks how it does it, I have no idea. It checks your alignment and checks your tires. And then it comes up on a screen that's in front of you, and they will do a printout.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're doing this to catch people that really need an alignment.
Yeah,
My car didn't. Do you have that kind of a machine?
Yeah, we do, Marty, and most dealers do. Most this machinery's been out for several years, and we got it when they first came out. They're really good machines. In fact, my advice, first of all, don't go to anybody that's going to charge you to check your alignment. That's like charging you to check your car over. Where they charge you when they find something wrong. So they should check you. Everybody should check. Every independent and dealer service department should check your alignment free. It's a very sophisticated machine, and Rick's very familiar with it. You get a computer printout, and it will tell you if the machine's properly programmed, which most of them should be, and it's a relatively new machine. Tell you exactly what's wrong, whether you got one wheel, two wheels, whatever it is, how much it's out of alignment. It's also protective for you. If you go in, even if you don't think you need an alignment, say, please get me an alignment check, and I'd like to see the printout. That way, they're not going to try to sell you an alignment when you don't need one. So always ask for an alignment check when you come in for service, even if you're in for something else. Because if it's slightly out of alignment, it can cost you a couple tires. I'm speaking from experience. I wore out 4 tires one time because they were misaligned and they were wearing on the inside, and they looked fine to me. And I took it in to get my oil change a few years ago, and my tires were worn down right to the on the inside. Rick might have caught it.
I did. The steel belts were coming right through it.
Yeah. So ask for alignment. Should be free. And this thing that Southern 441 is advertising is BS. If they are charging for alignments, they're crooks. The alignment check should be free. The alignment is going to cost money, and that's what you should pay for.
Obviously, this was free, and
Yeah.
my printout showed.
Yeah.
I asked for the printout. First, the guy tells me, "Yeah, you have no problem." And then I said, "Well, can I get the printout too?"
Yeah.
And they gave me the printout. I had nothing wrong, and obviously there was no charge. But I didn't know when I brought my car into your service bay, they don't come out and say your alignment's good. So I don't know if it was checked or it isn't checked. I guess you have to.
Well, I'm going to go back and check to be sure we're doing this. We should be, if we have time available, which we ought to most of the time, to check alignments. We should be checking alignments on every car. I mean, it's profit to us, and it's a favor to the customer. If you come in, you've got your wheels out of alignment, we can save you a set of tires, and we can make a profit when we sell you the alignment. But we should check it free, and we should check every car. We even should be checking new cars when they come off the truck, because you can knock a car out of alignment very easily. Just getting on and off a truck, you can hit a curb, you can knock a car out of alignment. So, Marty, thanks very much for the call. And we're running out of time here. Need to get to the mystery shopping report. But
Thanks so much, Marty.
Thanks very much.
We love hearing from you. We're going to go to Bob, and I believe Bob is calling us from Minnesota. Welcome. Thank you for holding, Bob.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I've got a car. I have a car coming in next week that I purchased about 8 months ago. I finally got here.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of questions should I be looking at from the dealership? Like the final review from them as far as damage from the truck that it was delivered in? How do I verify that there's no damage from that? And is there a checklist that I should be getting from the dealership as far as going over the whole vehicle?
Speaking from a Toyota perspective, there's a general, it's called a new delivery checklist that most sales associates will use. It just covers, everything from the outside to the inside of the vehicle. In terms of you could ask for proof of a pre-delivery inspection. A lot of times that's done by the distributor or the manufacturer. Sometimes it's done at the dealership. Other than that, walking around the vehicle, just taking a nice slow walk and checking out every panel and doing a nice thorough inspection of the interior, and beyond that, you got your warranty. So that I don't think there's really many more precautions you can take beyond those measures I just mentioned.
On a new car, there's a law in Florida that says you can't sell a car without disclosure of the repair to damage on 1% of the MSRP. So if the damage exceeds 1% of the MSRP, otherwise they can fix it. They don't have to tell you.
Yeah, if there's a $500 or $600 repair on a car, it's oftentimes it might go undisclosed. But anything beyond that, they're required to tell you.
So there's no checklist that I should be getting from them as far as that they've gone over the vehicle and everything looks good.
There's Toyota has a new delivery checklist. It is a required document. They actually, if there is an issue with the vehicle down the road.
And all manufacturers would have
I
that.
imagine they do, yeah. So that's something that they should do with you, the sales associate and you together. And you know, honestly, it's one of those pieces of paper that a lot of dealerships kind of put to the wayside. So if you are concerned, I would insist on doing that new delivery checklist. That way you have a copy of it. And it's also to protect the dealership, because if you sign off on it and then you bring that issue to their attention later, they'll be like, well, this isn't on the new delivery checklist. So it's a mutual protection. So I would insist that they do that with you.
Okay, well, they just told me that they've already done it electronically, which that makes no sense to me. I know nothing about it, but.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe what they're referring to is when the manufacturer will do these pre-delivery inspections, but then there should be another inspection, like a checklist with you, and it also covers things like equipment that you requested, or if you ask for floor mats, or the floor mats in the vehicle, any other accessories you might have added beyond the extra equipment, and this also will cover things like nicks and scratches and things like that might have occurred after the dealer was already holding the vehicle while they were just moving it around.
And to be honest with you, the fact is that one of the most overlooked things is exactly what you're complaining about. When cars are delivered, there's an excitement factor, a motion factor.
Mm-hmm.
Salesman's excited, the buyer's excited, everybody's in a hurry. The customer wants to get the car home in a hurry. The salesman wants to get his commission in a hurry. And so the care of the delivery of the vehicle in almost all dealerships, including ours, we rush them sometimes, and it shouldn't be. You're talking about typically a $40,000, $50,000 product, and someone should go over that product with a fine-tooth comb, the buyer and the seller, and the car should be perfect when it's delivered. It should be. It often is not, and you hit upon one of the biggest problems in the industry.
The other thing, it would not be uncalled for to have them put it on the hoist, to have me look underneath the car.
That's a great idea.
No, it's definitely not out of the question. Ask for it, and they should accommodate that. It really wouldn't take that long, and like we just said, you're spending a whole bunch of money and you're paying a premium nowadays, so I think you deserve to get the peace of mind you need.
You might hear this from the dealers. A lot of them say this: I'm sorry, you're not allowed in the service department because our insurance company doesn't permit
That's
it.
true. They'll say
So our insurance company doesn't permit it either, but we do it anyway. I mean, it's stupid not to be able to see your own car, and we encourage people to talk to the technician and come in and look at the car. And you know, the service department is a hazardous place if you're not careful. So if you're going to be walking out there, be careful. But yeah, I'd always push to look under the car if I was curious. It's my car. I want to look under it. You got up on the lift. Just be careful.
And Bob, we realize how important that checklist is to you. I've talked to customers who, they took a look and they didn't have a safety feature that they had ordered. So we're right with you. That checklist, it's extremely important, and it sounds like as if you're an extremely educated consumer. Please stay in touch with us. We're running out of time right now, and we'd love to continue the conversation, but we do have to go.
Okay, thank you very much for the info. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. We have a mystery shopping report to get to, and that means that we call upon you to take and to grade that mystery shopping report. Our mystery shopping report this week is from Mazda of Palm Beach. Interesting mystery shop, as all of them are. Agent Lightning, fabulous job. We thank you. Now back to the recovering car dealer. Don't forget, you can grade that mystery shopping report on our text number 772-497-6530.
Okay, Mazda Palm Beach. Last time we shopped at Mazda dealership was last September when Agent Lightning visited Nelson Mazda of Murfreesboro. I always kind of slur that. It's very hard to say Murfreesboro, for me anyway. Murfreesboro, Tennessee. 2 weeks later, we investigated Smale. Also hard to say. Smale, not snail, but S-M-A-I-L, Mazda, in Greensburg, Pennsylvania. Agent Lightning has family in that area and visited Murfreesboro, apparently. Both of these Mazda dealerships operated with integrity and professionalism and turned our preconceived notion of Mazda dealerships on its head. Prior to these mystery shops, our experiences with Mazda dealers have been poor. And Matter of fact, a month before we shopped the out-of-state Mazda dealers, we had Wallace Mazda in Stuart, Florida, and they did terribly. It was just when things were getting bad with inventories and pricing. It wasn't really the market adjustment that rubbed us the wrong way. It was the shady sales practices, shady sales practices. For example, the salesperson told Agent Lightning that Mr. Wallace did not believe in charging his customers over MSRP, but went ahead and charged her $2,725 over MSRP anyway. So that's pretty shabby and pretty shoddy. One Mazda dealership that hasn't been too bad is Mazda Palm Beach on North Lake Boulevard, Palm Beach Gardens, Florida. That could be Lake Park. We're not sure. They're side-by-side cities. The last two visits, one in the early months of the pandemic and one in August of last year, have shown Mazda Palm Beach to be pretty average in terms of car dealer behavior. We've given them a C or on our good dealer, bad dealer list, so average. We're great on the curve, so it wasn't perfect by any means, but it was about average. I had to look up their last two grades because instinctively it seems like Mazda Palm Beach would be one of the bad guys. We've been shopping Mazda Palm Beach ever since it was originally opened by Greco, and Greco were kind of bad guys. They're bad behavior people. They have dealerships around. They're a little bit like the Napleton Group, not quite that bad, but we had a couple of really interesting, terrible experiences at Greco Mazda. Some of you may remember the famous ghost car, and we laugh about that because we tried to buy the car at Mazda Palm Beach from Greco when he owned it, and there was no such car, and they tried to switch us to something else. And so we got switched and gave them a bad grade. And then we saw then the following week, it was advertised at another Mazda dealership owned by Greco. And then we saw it was advertised later. Long story short, this ghost car that was advertised for weeks and months, a car that did not exist. And so you can see why that gave us a bad taste in our mouth for Greco Mazda. But Mazda Palm Beach, new owner, and a new situation. To be fair, the Greco mysteries have been kind of boring. Maybe that's just because some dealers are cleaning up their act, and they are. We'd like to think we had something to do with that. Hopefully we're creating a little bit of a good influence, or at least a threat to the people that violate the rules on Earl on Cars. Went back into Mazda Palm Beach to see if they've been rehabilitated in any way. Here's a report. Speaking as if I were Agent Lightning, I arrived mid-morning, window shop in the sales showroom for a few minutes before being approached by a man. He asked me if anyone was helping me. I said no one yet, but I wanted to speak with someone about getting a new car. The man excused himself, returned with a salesperson named Craig, C-R-A-I-G. Craig asked me if I wanted a new or pre-owned, if I wanted to buy or lease, and several other qualifying questions. I answered his questions and then decided on a new Mazda CX-5, a sporty little crossover. There was a white CX-5 in the showroom, and we walked over to it. The Monroney label lay on the dash. The MSRP was $29,870. We stopped talking about Monroney labels not being where they're supposed to be. Sometimes they're not there at all. Sometimes they're on the dash. Sometimes they're in the glove compartment. The law says they're supposed to be on the window and only can be removed by the buyer, but nobody does that anymore. They all take them off. We take them off. They are ignoring that federal law. A lot of laws get ignored. There was a addendum label was on the windshield. It added $495 for resistol protection package. It's kind of a polish. And $495 for crystal fusion is the glass treatment. I didn't know what either one until I Googled it, or actually I went on Amazon where you can buy it a lot cheaper. It's still garbage, but if you want to buy garbage, best to pay a low price. $189 for all-weather floor mats, and $399 for a window tint. God, that's a lot of money for window tint. $495 for a 3-year maintenance package, probably practically free anyway on a new car. And $999 dealer fee, hidden fee, garbage, junk fee, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, you add all that up together, and it spells $3,072 over MSRP. $3,000 over MSRP. Craig offered to pull the car out of the showroom, that's the salesman, so he could test drive it. I told him that wouldn't be necessary and suggested finding a similar car outside. He said they preferred if the customer drove the actual car they're going to purchase. That's the first good advice that Craig got, maybe the last good advice. You should drive the car you're buying if you can. Today it's practically impossible because there are very few cars in inventory, but when things return to normal, if they ever do, try to drive the car you're going to buy. It wasn't a big deal to get the car out anyway. They did. I don't know if they did. Craig put a license plate on the dash, and we got in and drove up A1A. Craig shared with me all kinds of information about the car, the warranty, and the dealership on the right. He told me that Toyota owned 20% of Mazda, Subaru owned another 20%, and that Mazda was fused with Lexus. Well, that's not true. Mazda is owned by Mazda. Interestingly enough, Toyota and Mazda do have joint ownership of a plant where they build cars, and the Toyotas and the Mazdas come off the same assembly line. But Toyota had a joint venture with General Motors years ago, Chevrolet, California. So just because they have joint assembly plants doesn't mean they are joint.
They own each other. Yeah.
They don't own each other. Bad information, probably just mistaken, and I won't use that to gig them. There's enough other things to gig them on. Back at the dealership, Craig pointed out the owner's car, something very old and expensive. It's got my. I'll have to ask Stu about that, or Agent Lightning.
Wheel 442.
Whatever it was, roped off in the back. Roped off. I like
Thanks,
that.
Jonathan.
They don't rope my car off.
Yeah, we rope it off.
You rope it off?
Yeah,
Okay,
the
okay.
Pontiac's roped off.
Okay.
Do not touch.
I asked who the owner was. He told me it was owned by Leah Corporation. I Googled Leah, and the first thing that popped up was a underwear company in Miami. I want to say lingerie.
Oh boy.
Is a polite word for underwear. But actually, there is a Leah Auto Car Dealership group. We made our way back to the desk. Craig asked if I was interested. I said, definitely. He took my idea, entered it into their system. Then he said he'd be right back with some numbers. Took about 5 minutes. Craig returned with a worksheet. The top line of $32,870 was labeled a market value selling price, standard nomenclature today. This could include, remember this included Resinol and the rest of the garbage, the junk stuff. Then they added all the stuff they were supposedly already included, and this is where they really dropped the ball in integrity and honesty and deceptiveness and you name it. They charge you twice for the same junk. I mean, bad enough to charge you for junk. They charge you twice.
I need 2 crystal fusions.
Yeah, right. 2 reinstalls, 2 sets of mats in case you get one mat set dirty, $95 for an 8 minute. Anyway, they also added, in addition to the double ad for the junk, they had $9.99 for some more junk, a dock fee, and $400 in taxable fees. That's another word for junk fees. If they tax a fee, it's a junk fee. It's not a government fee. Anyway, the real price of the CX-5 was $36,212, which was $6,342 over MSRP. I told Craig I didn't need any of the things listed. Craig said they were optional, came right off that, and he was sure his sales manager, Dan, would take them off. I told him I would still need to speak with my spouse about this. So you still negotiate today, folks. Usually it doesn't do any good, but here you find them, as we say, the vernacular in the dealership business, they drop their pants. And we tell them, you don't drop your pants right away. You hold to your price.
Yikes.
You come down slowly.
Yeah.
But Dan dropped his pants and came down off of everything effectively. Craig asked if I could leave a deposit because with the inventory situation, the 6.5 might be gone later that day. I told him I had to talk to my husband about it, and that's where we were. As we spoke, the sales manager, Dan, came up anyway, offered me some water, Craig asked me to speak with him, and they both left. Craig then returned with a new worksheet. Okay. The new worksheet showed a top line of 32,870. They removed the reinstall, the polish, and the other stuff, and only added $400 in taxable fees. So now they're only added basically $1,400, $1,399 in taxable fees, junk fees, BS. Craig spent some time trying to convince me to trade in my car to offset some of the extra expense to me. I declined, thanked him for his time. He asked me to wait so he could get Dan to thank me for coming in. Hold him as long as you can. Keep him in there as long as you can. Don't let him get away. Dan sat down in Craig's chair and asked me if there was anything he could do to earn my business right now. I told him I just needed to speak with my husband before moving forward. He said he understood and advised me that most dealerships are charging much more than they are over MSRP, $5,000 to $6,000, like they originally charged when they double charged for the installed. It came down to half that, only $3,000 over. He said they're doing this so they could still trade their customers out when the market comes back to normal. So that's a story with Palm Beach Mazda, which is in Lake Park, I believe, or North Palm Beach, and they are second or third owners of that same location, and we need to vote on them. And in some ways, they're doing the same things that all the dealers are doing by charging thousands over. Do you see some things they did that were different that would want you to grade them even worse than the average dealer? An average dealer would get a C because we grade on the curve, and a terrible dealer would get an F. So if we have any grades come in, we'll go around.
Okay. Let's see here. Mark gave him a solid D. Way too many fees.
Too many fees.
I agree with that.
I totally agree. There were, what, 6? You had all the dealer-installed accessories plus 2 or maybe 3. There was 6 or 7.
And briefly, they were all doubled.
Doubled, and then they doubled them. But that was a real egregious, in my opinion.
I personally will be a D as well. I think they're somewhere in between egregious and average.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe they have a point that they're not as bad as everyone else, but it's still a bald-faced lie to say that paying $3,000 over sticker, you'll be able to trade no problem when the market returns to normal, because that's not true.
That's absolutely not true. Rick?
Okay, we've got Tim Gilliland, still too many games, C-. Pretty nice on his part, for my opinion.
Yeah.
Mark Ryan, D-. Typical unnecessary fees and old school tactics. Brian Sidlatko, Craig gets a C-. Again, very nice on his part. Donnie White with a C-. And let's see, Kirk in West by God, Virginia. Mazda of Palm Beach earns a solid D- for the double junk add-ons and $9.99 Steeler/dealer fee. Dropped their pants, but still over $1,400 over MSRP.
Hey, at least they dropped their pants. You gotta give them credit for the pants drop. Bob gives them a B. Bob is feeling very generous today. Thank you, Bob, for seeing the good in everyone around us. Yeah. Anne Marie, she's not messing around. D, not illegal, but I'm getting really tired of these junk fees. And John in Wellington says they charge them twice for the same garbage. Let's grade them twice. D- and another D-.
And Guy Larrabee, D, rip-off fees. I'm agreeing, D- all the way around. Not quite failing, because you could point out the discrepancies and say, hey, take that all off.
Yeah.
But, wow.
Yeah. Kind of Greco-ish.
Yeah, it does have a
Leah
Greekian
and
feel.
Greco. I wonder if Leah and Greco know each other. Okay, Nancy, you're the last to give us a grade.
That's right. Well, I can't avoid scoring this mystery shopping report based on the environment, the new normal environment we're living in, and this stinks. I don't like it. And double dipping and everything else that went with it, they get a solid F from me.
Ouch.
Yeah.
No nonsense.
Yeah, I'm going to give them a D-. I think I almost want to give them an F too. The salesperson may have been the culprit, but even so, it's too much like they actually tried to take advantage of a gullible buyer. I mean, a sharp buyer would not have ever fallen for the fact to pay the junk fees twice. So I think they were just hoping that Agent Lightning was gullible, and boy, were they wrong. She saw that immediately, and I think most people, the fact that they tried, I almost want to fail them, but I'm going to give them a D minus.
Yeah, I think that's the consensus.
Yeah, and the thing is interesting to me about this, we had Greco, a terrible dealership at Palm Beach Mazda, and then we had now Kia, Leah at Palm Beach Mazda. They're also terrible. We shopped in Murfreesboro and Greensburg, Pennsylvania, and we had delightful experiences. So it's not the franchise. Sometimes you tend to paint a franchise with the same brush. There are good, honest Mazda dealers out there, and there are two of them in Pennsylvania. And down here, we got. It's the geography. It's South Florida, the Sodom and Gomorrah. That's where we are. And if you're down here in South Florida, good luck.
Yeah, it's the Wild West.
It is the Wild, Wild West. Be careful, real careful.
Very careful. I think we have a couple minutes to get to some YouTube comments from Rick. If he could run them by us real quick.
We actually had quite a backlog, but I kind of went through and answered them online, but let's get a couple of these out here. Charles Reeves says, "Good morning, all. First-time car buyer who finally has decided on the car he wants. Subaru Forester Wilderness. Nice vehicle. It's been a 2-year prediction as to when car prices will fall. Are we close to that? Godspeed."
Well, I apologize because I've been predicting I predicted they were going to fall last year, and it's just getting worse and worse. I mean, you got the war in Ukraine now. It isn't just the microchips, it's everything. Now we're looking at a longshoreman strike in California. That's huge on impact. We've got the wiring harnesses. I think they were primarily, one of the primary sources was in the Ukraine. So every time I turn around, there's another issue. I'm still predicting early next year, but don't count on me because I could be way wrong. I think there's also a sentiment, unfortunately, of the manufacturers and the dealers is, hey, this ain't so bad.
Yeah, don't crank up production too much.
Yeah, let's don't bring it up. For the first time, I think the manufacturers and the dealers are kind of like, because we're hearing all about the dealers gouging and the thousands of dollars in junk fees. You don't hear about the manufacturers raising their prices, and they can very easily do it. They do it by incentives. You take away the incentives, you don't have to go and tell the government you're taking it away. So manufacturers have raised their prices secretly. The dealers have done so not so unsecretly. Everybody's getting rich.
It's like shrinkflation when they're not raising prices like at the supermarket, but they're taking the amount of potato chips out of the bag.
Exactly. Yeah. They're hiding the price increases.
I couldn't have said it better.
So we may find ourselves in this environment, which will make me much richer, and make the dealers or the buyers much poorer.
Don't mess with
because I'm
my
a car
chips.
dealer, and I admit it.
Okay, Rick, you have one more?
Yeah, we can get one more in here. Craig Jacobson says, shout out to Pines Ford, Pines. Don't know where it is, but he says, took my vehicle in for service. They promptly left my rear window open overnight, and shocker, it rained in Florida. My entire rear seat was soaked.
Maybe they parked under a pine tree.
That could be.
Yeah. Okay.
And my advice to him was get in that service manager's office and get every signed document he can stating that they will cover any forms of water damage or mold remediation for at least the next year or two.
Great. That's great information. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us this morning.